channel. Today I'm so excited to be sharing with you guys my updated manga collection tour. And so I will try and keep this video as short as possible, but I will also be going in depth with series and my thoughts on them. And I will be putting timestamps below for you to navigate everything a bit more easier. And so something that you see that has changed from my first collection video is that this shelf is no longer there. And it's actually in my college apartment. So that's why my shelves here look a bit more crammed than normal. But once I have that back, everything will have its place to go. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get started. Alright, before we begin the collection video, I just wanted to thank Boxu for sponsoring this video. So Boxu is a monthly subscription service that delivers premium Japanese snacks and tea pairings from Japan directly right to you. So each box has a new exciting theme every month, and so you always have something to look forward to. And Boxu is the only company that partners with 100+ year-old family snack makers for a really diverse and authentic selection of snacks. So as a subscriber to Boxu, you will get a first box called Seasons of Japan, but then after that you will get the monthly seasonal boxes such as this one. If you guys want to try some really authentic and fresh Japanese snacks and also support my channel, click the link in the description below and use my code MANGATAMA for $15 off your first Boxu order. So thank you so much to Boxu for sponsoring this video and giving me so many amazing snacks. So I recommend you to grab a snack on your own and get ready for this really long video that's ahead to come. So we'll be starting on the left side and I'll be talking about the upper shelf at the end of the video, but for now let's just stick with the manga. So going over here, this first row, you can see it's very jam-packed. There's just so much stuff going on, but I'm gonna go from the back row to the front. Alright, I cleared out the front row and I also turned off my LED lights just in case it was making anyone feel a little queasy. Alright, so the way I categorize my manga is by first the size of each volume, and then by publisher, and then by alphabetical order of the title. So first up over here we have vertical, and these volumes over here are actually incredibly tiny compared to the ones more below. But anyways, the first series that we have here is Ajin, and Ajin is an amazing horror thriller mystery series about a new species called the demi-humans. The story revolves around this one main character who ends up finding out that he's a demi-human, but demi-humans are being caught and tortured by the government, and he's trying to escape, of course, so he meets other demi-humans, and this just goes about the story of that. The art is absolutely mesmerizing. So this is a completed series. I don't have the entire thing. I still need volume 17 to complete this, and I'm so excited to finally finish this series. But this series is so wonderful. If you like horror or thriller or just questioning your life and your existence, definitely try out Ajin. Anyways, yeah, that's Ajin. I really like the spines. It just looks so beautiful. So the next publisher over, we have 7 Seas, and these are all 7 Seas. And the first series is Dream and Sun. So Dream and Sun is very different from Ajin. Dream and Sun is a shoujo series by Ichiko Takano. Legendary. Also the creator of Orange. And so I do not have the full series. As you can see, I've already read volume 1 and 2. I just need the rest in between. So the premise behind this is she has a father and a stepmother, and they just had a new baby, and so of course she feels a little left out, and so she wanders around and meets this guy who ends up giving her a place to stay, and through that place she meets a lot of interesting people and she falls in love with 1 or 2 of them. Again, very cute and necessary read if you are into shoujo. Alright, next up we have I Wanna Eat Your Pancreas, and this is the manga. So this is based off of a light novel, and it also has an anime adaptation, and this series is so beautiful. I've read this and I've watched this movie multiple times, and it gets me every time with the tears. I would say this series is a coming of age dramatic school life series, and it revolves around this girl who has a terminal illness, pancreatic cancer, and this guy who just randomly stumbles into her life one day and realizes her secret, which is that she has pancreatic cancer. And yeah, highly recommend I Wanna Eat Your Pancreas to every single person out there. So yeah. Alright, so continuing on with 7 Seas, the next series we have here is Kuma 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 Bear, and I read the first 2 volumes of this. So Kuma 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 Bear, also a manga adaptation of a light novel. This series revolves around this one girl named Yuna who loves video games, immerses herself in there, and she's really young, I believe 12, and she just plays video games all day. So one day she gets thrown into this world that is really similar to the video game that she plays, except that she has this one costume that she has received called the bear set. You can just see from like the text and stuff, this series is really funny. So this bear suit makes her incredibly powerful. She beats up every single person and she levels up incredibly quick. If you guys are interested in isekai or just like any cute series to, you know, read and chill, Kuma 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 Bear is something you should check out. Alright, next up we have Orange, and this is also by Ichiko Takano, and I think most people already know Orange, but my goodness, is this an amazing series. So this series proclaims itself as a sci-fi romance series. So the sci-fi part of this is that this girl receives a letter from herself 10 years later in the future saying that this one transfer student in her class ends up in very grave danger in the future, and that the letter is asking her previous self, her younger self, to basically watch out for him. So she soon realizes that a lot of the things in her letter are coming true, and so she's really scared that the ultimate thing that's mentioned in the letter is going to happen. So Orange Future is basically Orange retelling, except from a different perspective from this one guy right here. But yeah, regardless of what genres you like to read, I think Orange is a must read. All right, this next series is Ride Your Wave, and this is a manga adaptation of a anime film. And so this series, as you can just see, just already looks so gorgeous. I haven't read this yet, but I have friends who have, and they say it's pretty good. So it's a romance series. The romance is between this one surfer girl and this firefighter. And so they meet and they fall in love. I really need to catch up and read this. And I'll tell you guys more about the series after I've read it. Alright, so after Ride Your Wave, we have one of my all-time favorites, Tomo-chan is a Girl. If you guys have watched any of my other videos, you guys would know how much I love this series. So Tomo-chan is a Girl is a 4-koma, meaning that each page has 4 panels on it. Each panel was released daily on a Twitter account, and that's how this series was, you know, released to the public. It's so great, and it hasn't lost the flow of a traditional manga at all. And so this series revolves around this one girl named Tomo-chan and her childhood friend named June. And so Tomo really likes June, and we don't know how June feels. And so this is the hilarious and really cute story. And so yeah, flipping through some pages, you can see how each page is just filled with so much fun. So yeah, I have all 8 volumes, and I've reread this series probably 3 or 4 times in the last couple months. Highly recommend if you're looking for something comedic, slightly romancy, and school life. Alright, the next series that I have is Toradora, and I have really random volumes of this, and I accidentally bought a duplicate of volume 9. Toradora originally is a light novel that was adapted into an anime and then adapted into a manga series. It's gone through many adaptations, but I've only watched the anime and I haven't read the manga yet because I don't have volume 1 to start on. But anyways, Toradora is one of the most amazing romance animes to date. I really like it. This is the main male character, and then we have Taiga. We don't have Taiga on these covers, but that's the female lead. So basically the story revolves around him and Taiga and their love story with their other friends. So originally he likes her and Taiga likes someone else. So it revolves around this friend group and just all the misunderstandings that are happening with, you know, high school romance and friendship, and I'm still looking to complete the rest of this series. Recommend watching this series if you haven't. Alright, after Toradora, we are now into the Dark Horse section, but the first series we have here is Mob Psycho. And so Mob Psycho, the genius, you know, one who created One Punch Man. But yeah, here's Mob Psycho. The art style is so unique. And I actually have not read this yet, but I've watched a bit of the anime, and it's just really unique. It talks about superpowers, and of course it revolves around very interesting school life. And so yeah, it revolves around this one guy that, you know, has secret psychic powers, and about how they start their own little business in school, you know? And if you guys just finished One Punch Man and are looking for something similar, then definitely check out Mob Psycho 100. Alright, this next series, Miss Koizumi Loves Ramen Noodles, is actually something I picked up a few days ago, so this one is a really recent addition to my collection. I've already read both of these volumes. As you can tell from the name, talks about this one girl named Koizumi who loves ramen. She is a huge ramen enthusiast, and she can be found at any ramen store after school, before school, even during school. She ditches school to go to very interesting locations around Japan to try out ramen. And so this series is more of a casual read. I don't think there's any real plot behind it so far from the first 2 volumes. It just talks about Koizumi, who is a transfer student, and she comes into school, and there's another group of friends that really wants to get to know Koizumi, but She's very hard to get to know, and you can only bond with her over ramen. And so that is what this group of friends do, and they all realize the enjoyment that comes with trying out ramen. It was insane looking at the variety and the intricate details of ramen. You know, ramen is a complete art after reading this series. There's so many different types of broth and sauce and the thickness of the noodles and the toppings. So yeah, I highly recommend you to check this out if you're a foodie. And the art behind the ramen is just gorgeous as well. And I can't wait to pick up volume 3 sometime. Alright, and the last series on the shelf here is H.P. Lovecraft's At the Mountains of Madness. And sorry for this whack angle, my hand got tired of holding the camera, so I'm putting it down for a second. But yeah, here it is. This is a 2-volume manga adaptation of the novel by Lovecraft. The art is by Go Tanabe, and it's really, really amazing. I've only read the first volume so far because there's a lot of stuff that's happening in this series, and the art is really mesmerizing, but it can be a little bit overwhelming because of how dark and intricate it is, and I promise that's a good thing. But as you can see here, it basically just tells about exploration into a mountain and all the things that they discover. The novel was intended to be a horror series, and so now it is adapted into this beautiful adaptation. And so yeah, this adaptation is only 2 volumes long, and so if you guys want to check out something a bit different than usual, then definitely check out At the Mountains of Madness. Alright, moving on to this front row right here. And so we're still on Dark Horse. So the first series here is the Kurosaki Corpse Delivery Service. I've only read half of this so far just because this is so chunky, but this is a college life interesting like mystery series. And so these couple students who are at a Buddhist university in Tokyo, they realize that there's a line of work that actually allows them to help out the dead or people who are trapped in their old bodies and can't move on. So yeah, this is what this one is about. It's really interesting, but I find that it's harder to buy this series now, so hopefully I can get my hands on the rest of this once I finish this. Alright, this next series I have here is Kare Kano, and this is a school life shoujo series, I believe, and this is by Tokyo Pop. So this series, I only have volume 6 because I got this for free actually, but I did read this series a long time ago in its entirety, and I really like it. It's about these 2 students who are at the top of their class, get really good grades and everything, but then they kind of realize how fake the other person is. So yeah, it's about their romance and them kind of breaking down each other's walls and things like that, but while maintaining their top grades and their perfect student image. It's pretty good. I recommend it. I haven't read it in a long time, but looking back at it, I really liked it. So the next series we have here, that's actually not Tokyo Pop. I think I put this in the wrong section. It's by CMX, so I'll put this right here. But this is Kamikaze Kaito Jin, Arina Tanamura, one of the most iconic shoujo mangakas. This series is really interesting. I watched the entire anime, but I haven't read the manga series yet. So yeah, this is the first volume, and wow, just a very classic series. This series actually introduced me to rhythmic gymnastics, and for a really long time I wanted to learn it so bad. Basically, this girl, she's a normal student, but at nighttime she turns into this wonderful, it kind of reminds me of Sailor Moon. I feel like it basically is. But yeah, she like helps save people, and she has rhythmic gymnastic superpowers. She meets other people who are very similar to her. I really adore the series, and it's given me a lot of good memories in the past. So yeah, that's Kamikaze Kaito. And then moving on, we have Gaku and Alice. And oh my goodness, I love Gaku and Alice so much. It's one of my all-time favorite animes. I've read the completed manga many years ago, but unfortunately it's really hard to collect the full series. So I have these spare volumes here that I actually bought from Right Stuff's sale a while ago. I believe each volume was only $4 to $5, which was not bad. These are the volumes that I got, and I really am looking forward to completing this series. But Gaku and Alice takes place in a elementary school, I believe, but basically they all have different types of powers, and we have this main girl character, Mikan, who is a really cute student and talks about their adventures, and it's a really cute romance series later on. In the beginning, it's just a very cute, light-hearted series, but then near the end it gets kind of heavy, and I really like how you get to see them grow up. And this is a really old series, but such a classic. Alright, next up we have Kadocha. Oh my goodness, what a of my all-time favorites. Again, this series is so good, and it's also so hard getting this series. It's insane how much these volumes are going for online. I've seen some of these volumes go for over $100. I'm not one to say anything because I still haven't gotten my hands on some of the missing volumes. I believe 6 through 8 is what I'm missing. Anyways, Kadocha is about Sana and Akito, these two, again, elementary schoolers. It basically revolves around how she is a child star. She is an actress and she just has a lot going for her. But then this guy is kind of angsty and comes into her life and one day randomly kisses her in elementary school, I know. Anyways, they go into this complicated relationship. Again, this one also shows them growing up. Highly recommend. Also a very nostalgic romance series and very dramatic. All right, the next one is Marmalade Boy, another one of my all-time favorites, and luckily I have this entire series. Even though some of these volumes are a little rusty looking, I bought all of Kadocha and Marmalade Boy used. Impossible to get it new now. Marmalade Boy, this one has a very interesting premise, but it's basically about this girl Mickey who meets this one guy in her school, but then they realize that their parents are swapping each other. It's kind of weird to explain, but basically her parents and the guy's parents, they all met up at a vacation spot coincidentally, and then they fell in love with the other couple's partners. So basically Mickey's mom is now married to the male character's dad and vice versa, and so they all end up living in a huge house together, and they now realize that they're kind of step siblings, but then they also like each other now. So that's the intense and insane story of Marmalade Boy. It's really sweet. Overall, a really fun and adoring series that I love to reread every so often. This one has an amazing anime that you guys should go check out if you haven't. All right, the next series here is Portrait of Eminem. This one is by the same mangaka as Gakko and Alice. So this series I actually have not read yet. But so as you can tell by the title, M and N stands for masochist and narcissist. Yeah, so the female character here is an extreme masochist and the guy is a narcissist. And so it just tells their story. That premise sounded really interesting to me, and that's why I decided to pick this up. I still have yet to read it, and I can't wait to see how it evolves, because just from that alone, it's kind of interesting how, you know, this is going to play out. But I believe there are 5 total volumes to this, and I don't think they continued publishing this in English. So unfortunately, I won't be able to collect this series in full. So that's Portrait of Eminem. All right, this next one is Sword Princess Amaltea by Natalia Batista, and she was so kind enough to actually give me these series, the mangaka herself, and this is such an interesting twist on a lot of traditional series. This series is held in a world where the gender roles are reversed, and not only roles but like typical stereotypes and characteristics of each gender are reversed. Females in this are the ones kind of taking care of the country, the kingdom, and the ones fighting and everything. And so it's a very interesting twist on princess stories as well, about, you know, saving a princess, you know, locked in a tower. So that's the prince of the series. He gets locked up in a tower and this girl, Amaltea, goes and saves him. All right, this next series here is one of my all-time favorites, and this is Daytime Shooting Star. So Daytime Shooting Star is one of those shoujos that's just so good. I read a lot of shoujo, as you can tell by my collection, but this one is probably one of my favorites. Of course, this is one of those classic setups where Suzume, the girl, moves to Tokyo and explores a little bit in her school, and we have a couple main characters here. We have the teacher here, who she falls in love with in the beginning because of just how much he takes care of her and everything. And then we have this guy character here who is kind of like a quiet, shy classmate of Suzume's, and I think they end up sitting near each other in the beginning. So I won't say too much for now because I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, this series is just so cute and endearing, and once you start reading this, you won't be able to put it down. This is a fat 12 volumes long, and I believe I read this entire thing in a day. So that was how good it was, and I can't wait to reread it. All right, now we are done with this first shelf here. Time to move on to this second one. So this is the current state of my second shelf right here, and there's a lot of stuff going on here. These characters that I got from Kika Goods are so cute. I'll be doing an unboxing and more detailed video on those later on. But anyways, we'll remove that and let's get started with the series on this shelf. All right, so just diving into our second shelf right here, the first series we have is Full Moon. And as you can see, I have a lot of duplicates here, but anyways, Full Moon is one of those series very similar in meaning and sentiment to me as Kadocha and Marmalade Boy and Gakko and Alice. So this one is also by Arina Tanemura, and this one is about this one girl who has an illness, I believe, and she is unable to sing, even though that is her one true passion, to become a singer. And her crush forever is this one guy that she met when she was younger that really looked out for her, but then suddenly she doesn't know where he went. So basically she's on this quest to find her first love, basically. However, one day these two angels come from above and tell her that they can make her dreams come true. They can make her look older in order for her to dive into the singing and pop star industry, because she's 12 at this time and she's actually able to sing without her throat feeling absolutely terrible. It's very bittersweet because these guardian angels are also seemingly grim reapers, so take that as you will. So yeah, this is the very dramatic and very tragic series of Full Moon. Next up, we have a classic, which is Maid-sama, and I'm sure most of you guys have heard this, but oh wow, I just really love the omnibus of this. So I haven't read the manga actually to this because I'm still looking to collect the rest of these. I still need a couple in between here and a couple at the end here. So for those who don't know what the series is, this is a very classic shoujo. The anime is amazing. If you guys haven't watched it, definitely watch it. It's so cute. And it's about this girl, class president actually of the school, and she has a secret job, which is working at a maid cafe. And this one guy suddenly, discovers her secret, and this is their story. Maid-sama, so cute, and this volume 7 and 8 is one of my favorite covers of all time. I really like these spines. The next following series are kind of random, but this next one is My Love Story, and I believe I got this for free as well. And I have this entire series in Japanese that you'll see later on. It's a romance series that you think he would be the main character of, the main male lead, but actually it's him. So it's him and this really cute girl that like each other and talks about their romance, and it's just really cute. A lot of people say this series is a really great introduction to romance series, and I highly agree. So yeah, if you guys are interested in trying out shoujo or romance, if you guys have definitely try this one. I believe there's an anime with this series as well. Alright, the next one is another classic. This one is On High School Host Club. Also got this in a random set. You guys already know what's up. It's about this one girl who becomes a hostess in this high school's host club with a bunch of other guys. My explanation of the premise is definitely not as exciting as the actual series itself, and the anime is absolutely wonderful. So highly recommend that, and I hope in the future I can get the On High School Host Club box set. Alright, next up we have Phantom Thief Jean, and if you guys didn't notice, this is actually the same thing as Kamikaze Kaitojin. It's the same series, just translated in this format, and this one is the Viz version. So I have volumes 1, 4, and 5 here. So this is the newer published version, so I think I'll be collecting these ones in the future rather than the CMX ones. Alright, next one is Sakura Hime Volume 1, and this one is also by Arina Tanamura. You can tell she has a very distinct art style. I read the series a while ago. Not my exact favorite, so that's why I'm not continuing to collect this. So this one is about like her as a princess and demons and things like that. It's been a really long time since I've read this. I still highly recommend checking it out if you guys like Arina Tanamura's other works. Alright, next up we have Skippy. Again, one of the most classic shoujo series ever to date, and it's still ongoing, I believe. It's insane. There's 40 something volumes, and I don't even know when it's gonna stop. I haven't caught up entirely with the series, but of course I've caught up with the anime, and I really wish they would release more for the anime. But yeah, Skippy is about an aspiring artist, actress, and she's only aspiring this because she realized that her ex-boyfriend, who is also an up-and-coming artist and actor and singer, that he was bad-mouthing her behind her back even when she was part-timing and supporting his dreams. She just realized that he's a douchebag. So basically she decides to get revenge by becoming a better artist and actress than him. Talking about this now makes me want to read the other volumes and collect all of it, but highly recommend Skippy, one of my favorites as well. Alright, next up is Ultra Maniac, and I have not read the manga of this, but I've watched the anime and I really liked it in the past. This series is, I believe, 5 volumes long, so I don't have the other 3 volumes. But yeah, this series is very interesting. It's actually about witches and spells. It revolves around these 2 main characters and these 2 guys that she likes. So again, a very cute shoujo series that has a touch of magic and talks about 4 main characters rather than 2. It's been a while since I've caught up with a story, so I need to do that soon. This next series is Yona of the Dawn, and I don't think I need to explain this too much. Everyone knows Yona of the Dawn, a very classic romance series that is still popular to this day, and I can understand why. So I bought these volumes off of Right Stuff when Yona the series was going on sale, but unfortunately a lot of people were faster than me, but I was only able to get these few series. So I still have a lot of catching up to do in terms of collecting this, but all I can say is that Yona the Dawn, wonderful characters, a very magical fantasy world, very cute romance, very cute characters, and amazing anime that goes with this manga series. Next up we have Hanakimi, and this is short for a longer name, I believe. She is a girl. These are two guys, and she infiltrates an all-boys school because she looks up to this one guy who is a track star, an athlete. And so she wants to get closer to him and get to know him better. So she disguises herself as a guy and then goes into the school, and you know, her roommate is him. So lucky for her, that works out and all, but then some people discover that she's a girl and she's at the risk of getting kicked out of the school. A very interesting shoujo series. Alright, this next series is Kare First Love. It talks about this one girl who initially looks like a nerd and this playboy right here. You can just tell how the series is gonna go based on those pages. She gets closer to this very popular guy, and very classic shoujo series. I'm a sucker for those, so I really enjoyed it. And I do not have the entire series, and I also do not think I will be collecting this entire series, but shoujo fans, highly recommend. Alright, this next series is Kobato by Clamp, and Clamp series are always so nostalgic and just so fuzzy. I really liked the anime of this when I was younger. It really has been a while, but I will be revisiting the anime sometime. And this volume I also got for free from a bundle, so that's how I got that. And then the next few volumes are Durarara. This is actually one of the first series that I collected. This is an amazing series. I have not finished reading it yet, and so yeah, the entire cast of this series is very unique. Again, I read this 2 years ago, so it's really been a while. And so I will be putting a more concise summary right up here. Yeah, I forgot to mention, but after Kobato, we moved from Viz's shoujo line into Yen Press. I believe Yen Press's volumes are all incredible quality. Just look at this gold metallic lining right here. Really gorgeous. Last series that we have is Horimiya. I actually bought this before the anime came out, but after the anime came out, the series became a huge hit, and I'm only a couple episodes into the anime so far. I still have to keep up, but I've heard amazing things, and the animation quality is also insane, so I really like how they did this series. These characters are so cute, and I really like Miyamura. In school, Miyamura, the guy, is known to be a loser, but then secretly he's very cool. Basically, he gets to become closer to this one girl named Hori, and together they go through a wild journey, and the side characters to this are also amazing as well. I really wish to collect more of this series, but it's really expensive, but I'm glad to have the first volume on hand. Alright, and the one series that I have on the edge right here is I Am a Hero, and I have read the series and I really want to get volume 2, but that is impossible to find. It's so hard, so I will probably be getting the other volumes first, but this is an insane zombie apocalyptic series. To be fair, it is a bit weird. The characters are all very interesting, and they're not like ideal human beings, and so they're all a little bit weird in their own way, but it also is very tragic and very real. The art is insane, and this does such a great job at depicting the horrors and kind of the denial that is a zombie apocalypse is coming. The series is wonderful. I believe it's one of the more realistic zombie series out there. I've only read Omnibus 1, but it's amazing so far. And I really wish I got the other volumes a bit earlier. So yeah, we're done with row 2. Alright, it is now time to move on to this third shelf right here, and this one is one of the chunkier ones. Alright, so here is the back row, and as you can see there are 3 levels right here, but that's because I'm using many different types of display stands, but I'll probably figure something else to make everything look pretty much cohesive in the future. But yeah, with the series itself, we've gone from Yen Press to Kodansha. Yeah, let's just get started with the first series, LDK. LDK is one of those very interesting shoujo series where I believe a lot of people were raving about it in the past, but then now more recently, if you look at the reviews of this series, it's not that great because the guy is just not a very nice person. I believe he's pretty cold and mean to the female character despite everything they've gone through. And basically the premise behind this is a guy and a girl end up moving into accidentally the same place together because of some mishap. But the guy had recently rejected one of her best friends, and so she doesn't have such a great impression of him either. And then so the LDK stands for Living, Dining, and Kitchen. Cozy little shoujo series. Again, used to be one of my all-time favorites. Yeah, but the guy's still pretty cold and heartless in the later volumes, so I don't think I'll be collecting the rest of the series, but it is a very fun read. Alright, next one is Noragami, and won't say too much on this because most people know this for its amazing anime. To be honest, Noragami reminds me a lot of Kami-sama Kiss sometimes. Real life gods that, you know, roam the earth like humans and things like that. But yeah, I really like these characters. The series is really funny but also has a very thick world building plot to it. I really like this series. I'm still trying to collect the rest of the series. Not one of my all-time priorities, but I would like to in the future. Alright, this next series is Parasite, and I'm still working on volume 3 and 7 and 8, and I have bought those off of Right Stuff, but the package has yet to come. But yeah, this is Parasite, a very interesting thriller series. I think I've said this in multiple videos, but this series is basically Tokyo Ghoul, but on a lesser level, just because the parasite is in his hand, so he calls it Mingi, or right hand. Goes about their story of how the parasite didn't fully infiltrate his brain, so the main male character is able to function and to have Mingi as his right-hand man in order to, you know, beat up some other parasites and things like that. Of course, I'm giving a very bare bones summary. It's much deeper than that and actually makes you question a lot of things. I actually got to know this series through its anime. The anime is absolutely wonderful and made me feel things, especially near the end. So yeah, I watched the anime and knew I needed to pick up the manga. It's older than Tokyo Ghoul by a lot, so highly recommend. The next series we have here is Your Lie in April, and oh my goodness, just having recently watched and finished this series in its anime form, I have no words. It pains my heart to see this series, but it's a very musical, heart-wrenching series, I would say, but highly recommend. Literally one of the most highly rated anime series of all time, so highly recommend you to check it out no matter what. Alright, the next series here we have is Sailor Moon, classic series. Not going to dive too much into this one. I really am happy to have most of the Sailor Moon volumes. I'm still missing a couple, and also Sailor V. And I really want to collect the Eternal editions of this as well because they're so stinking pretty. So one of my collection goals sometime too. Can't go wrong with a classic series like Sailor Moon. And this one is Sailor V. I still need the second one. I really like the spines. It just looks so pretty. Wait a minute. So I do it in alphabetical order. So I'm going to move everything here. But anyways, in between we have Waiting for Spring. This is a shoujo series, and I've only read this first volume, and I'm looking to get the rest of this, but definitely not a priority for now. So this series is very interesting. It's about this one shy girl, or she doesn't really open her heart that much to other people, but then she meets 4 members of the high school basketball team, and from there, her romance blooms. High school setting, shoujo series, Waiting for Spring. Alright, this next series we have here is Bakuman, and this is a very interesting and different series that teaches a lot about the manga industry and how mangas are written and what the process these mangakas have to go through for their manga to be actually physically published and recognized by people. So yeah, it's a very informative series, but a very good one. The plot is really great, and I've only read these first 6 volumes, but the series itself is much longer, and all the characters are really cute and the art style is amazing. The series is written by the same pair that wrote Death Note, so you know that it's already pretty good. But yeah, very interesting series. And then next up we have Black Clover, good shonen series that I've only read the first 2 volumes for. But yeah, the anime to this is also really wonderful. This is a shonen action series, so it reminds me a lot of like One Piece, but I would say that the plot and the character development in this is really great. And I really like the anime. A really great shonen series, and I believe it's a lot of people's favorite. Alright, this next series is Black Torch, and it's complete with 5 volumes. This one is about this one guy right here who learns that he can communicate with animals. Through this, he actually communicates with this one cat and realizes that the cat is actually a demon. And so he enters the world of demons and tries to extinguish the bad ones, but then also work with the cat that right here. Very comedic series too, and I really like all the other characters in here as well. Highly recommend checking the series out, even though it was stopped early and that's why the end was kind of rushed and there's no continuation of it. Definitely worth checking out. All right, next up we have Dead Man Wonderland. Wow, this is a very interesting series. But yeah, if it's your first time reading or hearing of this series, you're in for a ride. This one is about a prison called the Dead Man Wonderland. In this prison, people are tortured. So the people actually in these prisons are kind of fed up with the abuse that they have to go through. Its art is amazing. It's very interesting, and I think it contrasts really nicely with all of the characters' innocent and young looking faces, because the story itself is really deep and there's a lot of mind-blowing things in here, and yeah, you just really never know what each character is thinking. I've read all 7 volumes that I have, but this is a 12-volume series, so I will be looking to getting the rest of this series soon. All right, let's move on to the front row. So the first series we have here is The Drifting Classroom, and this is the single volume version, but I do have the amazing hardcover like omnibus edition too. The series is a very classic horror series revolving around this elementary school that suddenly seems to drift into the middle of nowhere. But then as people are trying to leave school or they look out the windows, they realize that they're on a floating island in an abyss. As a fan of horror, I really liked it. All right, so this next series, Haikyuu, one of the most amazing anime and manga of all time, and I still have yet to collect a lot of this series. I think my priority will be filling the gap. But yeah, Haikyuu, amazing volleyball series. Can't recommend it enough if you have not watched it yet. All right, this next series is Food Wars. A lot of people have differing opinions on this. I myself really enjoyed the beginning of this series, especially anime and manga version. I liked them both, but near the end is where it kind of gets rough. A lot of things are rushed and things don't make sense, and the ending is just kind of meh compared to the entire rest of the series. This is one of my first food anime and manga, and so it was really amazing how they can incorporate such adventures with food in this series. Yeah, I will not be collecting any more of this series until I get more space. Overall, I really like the soundtrack of this series. One of my favorite things about it, and also the animation when it comes to all of the food. All right, next up we have another classic, Hunter x Hunter. Wow, naive little me used to say Hunter x Hunter, and I got so many comments telling me that I'm not supposed to say the X. Anyways, I haven't collected the entire series because again, this is such a fat series to collect. But yeah, Hunter x Hunter, what more can I say besides check it out? And if your reservation is that it seems a little bit too childish, I assure you it is not. It gets so much more intense in the middle, absolutely insane. And the anime is an absolute masterpiece. All right, the last series on this shelf is Kaguya-sama Love is War. And here I have volumes 1 through 12, and I have more down below over there. If you guys are not looking for a manga currently, then watch the anime. I can't recommend it enough. The first 2 seasons are absolutely beautiful, and season 3 should be coming out soon. Kaguya-sama is about 2 rivals who are trying to make each other confess their love for one another. So it's just very hilarious, comedic, especially the anime. Soundtrack is amazing, art style, and the narration, the way that the story is told is amazing too. All right, we are done with these first 3 shelves. We are now moving on to this 4th one right here. So starting over here, we have more Kaguya-sama. I have collected up to volume 19 for now, but I know that more volumes have come out since then, so I will definitely need to collect those. I'm looking forward to collecting this entire series just because I love it so much. Rereading it makes me so happy. Next up we have Komi Can't Communicate, and this was one of my favorite series when I first started collecting manga. I now have other favorite series, but this one still is pretty dear to my heart. This volume 10 cracks me up every time, just because if you see all the other volumes are pretty level, but this one's just kind of wonky. But yeah, Komi Can't Communicate is about this girl who has social anxiety, and yeah, she's struggling to communicate and talk to people in her class. So she befriends this guy right here who decides to help her, and they have a goal of making 100 friends, and it's just so adorable. So highly recommend if you're looking for something a bit on the more relaxing but cute side. All right, moving on, we have One Punch Man. I absolutely adore this series in manga format and also in anime format. It's an amazing shonen series, action series, and it's so hilarious. I think this is the runner-up to Grand Blue Dreaming in terms of comedic effect for me. This one just does it so well. And I also really like all of these covers, and especially how 19 through 21 is a connected. And yeah, there's his shiny head. All right, so there we go. That's One Punch Man. And kind of randomly, we have a couple Mandarin volumes here because my other shelf right here doesn't have enough space. So we'll just go over them really quickly. So this one is the Mandarin version, Girl with the Sampuku Eyes. So I don't remember what it is exactly in English. This series is so funny. It's about a girl who has some very interesting eyes, like cat-like eyes. I've read it and it's so adorable, and I really wanted to check out more of this series. I think I'll be collecting the next couple volumes in English. But yeah, this is such an interesting and cute school life series. Honestly, reminds me a little bit of Komi Can't Communicate. And so yeah, that's this series right here. Over here we have some Japanese volumes. So this is actually Sailor Moon the Eternal Edition. And so this edition is just so beautiful. It's a very shiny, kind of glossy finish, and each page in here is really thick. It's been a dream of mine since starting my collection to collect this entire series in Eternal Edition. It was a very lucky find at Half Price Books. And then here we have Otakoi, Love is Hard for an Otaku. I will be collecting the rest of the series in English just because it's a bit easier and faster for me to read it that way, but I really do like the Japanese versions because of the quality of the covers. As you can see, they have like different textures. So yeah, there's Otakoi, and the anime is also so adorable as well. Alright, let's go ahead and continue with this front row of that shelf right here. So we have moved from Shonen Jump to now Vertical. Alright, so the first series is A School Frozen in Time, and this is also a recent finish. This series is 4 volumes long, and this one is drawn by the same artist and author as Your Lie in April. So you can already tell the art is going to be amazing. So this is actually a horror series or thriller series. It's very interesting. It's about these group of students that go into school one day and realize that they're trapped there. So the premise is similar to Drifting Classroom, except there's something very sinister going on, and they believe that they're actually trapped in the minds of somebody who put them all there because of an incident that happened a while ago. So there's this one person in their school who committed suicide, but nobody out of their friend group can remember who. They think that that is partly why they are trapped in the school, because somebody wants them to remember. The series took me on an incredible journey. I finished it in about 2 days, but I couldn't read it all in one sitting because it's insane. The 4th volume just blew my mind one page after another. So yeah, that's School of Frozen in Time. If you guys are interested in things like that, definitely check it out. One of the most unique stories, I would say. All right, the next series is 5 centimeters per second, and my goodness, is this as heart-wrenching as I Want to Eat Your Pancreas. And so this one is by Makoto Shinkai. So this manga is actually an adaptation off of the film too. This one really breaks you. This story is just a lot about regrets and very deep emotions, and just about 2 people who didn't get what they could have gotten. It revolves around these 2 people who grew up together, I believe, from elementary school. They like each other, but they're too afraid to say anything. And then one day, the male character realizes that he has to move really far away. And so even when he's really far away, he writes letters to her and emails, but he never actually sends them. But then they slowly move on with their lives because it's been a really long time and they haven't contacted each other at all. Insane feeling of loss, regret. This series is so phenomenal at making you feel miserable. All right, the next series after that is The Golden Sheep. They're very matte and textured, which I really like. So this series is complete with 3 volumes. This series talks about this one girl who plays the guitar, and she moved very far away from her childhood friends, and then she ends up coming back one day. The story just explores, you know, her existing relationship and things that she still has to go through. So I've only read volume 1, I remember, right when I got it, but I didn't get a chance to finish this series yet. But I've heard it's really amazing, so I definitely need to do that soon. So yeah, there's The Golden Sheep. All right, next up we have Weathering with You. Don't hate me, but I haven't watched the film yet, and I really am looking forward to doing that. So this story is also by Makoto Shinkai. I've watched a lot of trailers of this, but I'm still looking forward to watching the film first and then the manga. And then next up I have this Attack on Titan guide, which I don't really know why is here. I think I misplaced it, but this is the character encyclopedia. I have not read this yet because I'm still on season 3 of the anime. Yeah, this is just a cute little guide that I picked up, I believe, at Kinokuniya. All right, next up we have Spy Family. So yeah, I am caught up with collecting it at 6 volumes so far. I have just started reading the 6th volume, but Spy Family is so funny and so endearing. It's about a spy who needs to have a pretend family for his mission, and his pretend family is so interesting. So many unique characters, and the plot is really great, and there's a lot of comedy in this as well. Really looking forward to the anime that is coming out soon as well for this series. The next series we have here is Rurouni Kenshin. I have not read this series. I've heard things happening with its creator and things like that. That's why people are recommending not to support the creator and to buy it secondhand or read it online. I did buy it secondhand, but I still have yet to check this series out. All right, going on to the right section, this is more of my Mandarin collection. But yeah, so the first thing I have here is, don't remember the English name for this, but I'll be putting it up right there. But this is the Mandarin version, and I have read this series in its entirety, but I only picked up the first volume because I was limited in space. But this is a very cute romance series by Robiko. There are 2 classmates, and the girl confesses her love to this one guy in the beginning, and I think he just brushes it off and he's like, okay, this girl is kind of weird. But then I think every single day they hang out together and they talk at this train station where the setting of the cover is. Yeah, she just really likes him and their bond continues to grow. Right over here we have Shokugeki no Soma's extra book called The Creator's Special Light. And so this one really caught my eye, and I'm flipping it on the ground for you to see, but all of the pages have very neat information about all of the characters and about their food specialties and like interviews. There's some really amazing colored pages too. I found this to be incredibly unique, and yeah, really happy to have it. It's actually super heavy and really good quality, so yeah. All right, next up we have One Punch Man's guide, and so this is really similar to the Shokugeki no Soma's one, but this one is a special heroes guide, so you can learn more about all the heroes, some interviews, and a lot more juicy information. And next up we have Slam Dunk in Mandarin, and I've also read this series, but only this first volume. Probably one of the most OG sport manga out there regarding basketball, as you can see. All right, next up we have this very unique collection of short stories by Kazumi Yamashita, and this is such a wonderful compilation of her insane series. So she is an older manga artist. She mainly specializes in shoujo, I believe, but she has some really great seinen works that are published in seinen magazines. I've read the first couple stories in here, and I'm really looking forward to reading the rest of this. I think compilations like this really allow you to get a feel for the mangaka and the way that they like to tell their stories. And so yeah, my mom's best friend actually gave this to me for me to add to my collection for me to read, and I've really been enjoying it. All right, next up we have another fan book or guidebook, and this one is Horimiya's. And my goodness, I wanted to buy almost every guidebook out there just because I really like collecting these too. And so this one is Horimiya's in Mandarin, and again it gives a lot of information, character sketches, interviews, and basically how it came to creation. All right, next up is an adorable shoujo series that I've only read the first volume of, but this is called Hinata no Blue in Japanese, so you guys can search it up if you guys want to read this yourself. So this series is about a very shy girl who moves to a new school, and one day she goes to the rooftop and she meets the class president, which is the guy right here, and he becomes her first friend. All right, next up we have Way of the House Husband, but in Chinese, volume 2. Such a hilarious series. Basically, an old Yakuza boss decides to, settle down, and he marries his beautiful wife, and he becomes a house husband while she works. And it's really hilarious. All right, this next series is called Shrink. So this one is a very unique one. Psychology, mental health, a lot of factors play into this series right here. I wish I could have gotten more of this series because volume 1 itself really set up everything, but I really can't wait to see how everything else evolves. All right, and then the last series on this shelf is Chobits. So not much to explain with Chobits, but this is also the Mandarin version. I have the English version as well. A very classic series about Chi, a robot girl, and how she learns life. And we are approaching the very last shelf. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start over here. We have The Flowers of Evil by Shuzo Oshimi. So a very popular mangaka. And so I actually haven't started reading this series yet. Please don't come after me. I was missing the second and third complete editions for a while. Now that I have those, I can finally start reading this series. Basically, so many things happen, but these girls make him sign a contract with the main male character, and his school life is just thrown into a hot mess. To be honest, it's very similar to a lot of other Shuzo Oshimi volumes. And yeah, that's that. Alright, this next series here is Paradise Kiss by Ai Yazawa, and this is a classic. I was so excited to buy this. So this is the 20th anniversary edition, making it very special, and also in a quite old series, but I really like those old series. So Paradise Kiss dives you into a world of fashion and relationships and a lot of intense stuff like this. This series is a very dramatic, a lot of things happening series about this girl learning fashion and her going into the fashion industry. So a lot of great fashion in here, a lot of great relationships and drama and all that good chunky stuff. So again, really recommend this series if you guys haven't tried it out. All right, next up we have A Sign of Affection, and I recently got volumes 2 and 3. I've already completed this read. The thing I love about this series is about how straightforward their relationship is. And so I really adore that, and I think it's just a really refreshing way to represent this series. But A Sign of Affection is about this deaf girl named Yuki and how she meets this one guy who travels everywhere, and he is intent on her teaching him sign language. You already know this is one of my favorite series. Alright, next up we have Grand Blue Dreaming, and I've already talked quite a bit about this series in my other videos. #1 comedy series in my opinion. But Grand Blue Dreaming is about a diving club and about these college students who get together to experience the joy of diving. But I think more than diving, it goes through like other activities and how they bond together as a group. Next up we have Kiss Me at the Stroke of Midnight, and I have not read the series just because I don't have volume 2 on hand. Basically, this is another shoujo series, and just look at the facial expressions on here. It's very funny. So I'm really excited to get into this series after I get my hands on volume 2. Alright, next up we have Rent a Girlfriend, and I have volumes 1 through 5 right here. I need to get the rest, but in my recent Instagram post, a lot of people were telling me that as the series develops, it gets more and more disappointing. So I don't know how to feel about that, but so far the first 5 volumes have been nothing but pure joy. Really love all the ladies of this series, and it's just really interesting and a really fun read. Alright, I'm actually turning on the LED lights for this portion just because it was kind of getting hard to see beneath the shadow. The next series is Shikimori's Not Just a Cutie. And so at the very beginning of the series, you learn that Shikimori and this one male lead, I forgot his name, they're dating, and they're just a very cute dynamic. So Shikimori is normally like a cutie, you know? She's just chilling, but some other times she is insanely cool, like here, where she basically pulls out her cool side. So this series is basically just a lot of short stories compiling when Shikimori's not just a cutie. Alright, next up we have Sweetness and Lightning, a very new addition to this collection, and I've heard really cute things about this, it being a single father and him raising this cute little girl and also just cooking a lot. And so this series has a lot of delicious looking stuff, meals, and just very cute overall. So very interested in checking that out. So yeah, there's Sweetness and Lightning. Next up we have Witch Hat Atelier. A magical series indeed. I talked more about this in my must-reads for 2022, but this series is a very magical fantasy world-building insane series, and I don't really read a lot of magic series, and so this one, being one of the first ones that I dived into, is really gorgeous. But magic isn't all bubbles and fun. There are some sinister things behind some of the magic in this world, and that's basically the series so far. So I've only read the first 2 volumes, but I need to get my hands on the next several. All right, next up we have My Dress Up Darling. But yeah, I actually really adore this. So as you can kind of already tell already, the series revolves around cosplay and about discovering and not hiding one's passion. And so this one girl right here really loves to cosplay. And this one guy right here really likes to sew and craft and make these dolls that his family is known for making. And then so they decide to work together to, you know, learn more about their passions and things like that. Really recommend checking this series out. It actually teaches you a lot about cosplay. It just makes me appreciate the effort and, you know, people actually with that passion. I really admire them. All right, next up we have Fruits Basket Collector's Edition. Also, don't hate me on this one, but I have not read the manga to this series. That's because I don't have volume 1 of this, but I have watched the anime and the remake, and yeah, it has really fun and unique concepts like the 12 zodiacs, people transforming into animals. So there we go, now we're done with the back row and let's get started on the front. So the first series I have here is Kakegurui. Here is a wonderful gambling series about this unique high school where everything that they do is in terms of, you know, their gambling ability. High schoolers basically ruin their entire lives because of their gambling debt, and they become basically like servants for everyone else in the school. All right, next up we have Prison School. So Prison School, I would say this series is very interesting. Again, not too much to say besides it being pretty explicit. Definitely not suitable if you're younger. The series talks about these 5 boys that are in school where the only boys in the school are the group of 5, but they basically get caught peeking on girls trying to shower, and they get sent to this prison part of the school, and there they are tortured and just made to do very humiliating things. Quite a lot of explicit content, I would say, in this one. This one's one of the more explicit ones, but still a very fascinating and interesting series. I think it's really funny too. Alright, next up we have Twinkle Star by Natsuki Takaya, who is the same author and mangaka as Fruits Basket. So this is a shoujo series, and I can't say too much about this because I read this a very long time ago. So in Twinkle Star, the main girl character meets this one male character by fate, and that basically marks the start of their journey of her trying to find him in the future and just trying to meet him one more time. Alright, after Twinkle Stars, we have Beastars, and it's kind of funny how they both have stars in them. Beastars is a very interesting series. I've only read the first volume so far, and it basically talks about this high school where, you know, they're separated into categories based on what type of animal they are, and, you know, they are animals, so murders start happening and people start to suspect one another. I've heard the anime is pretty solid though, but I haven't checked it out yet. Alright, next up we have Blue Flag, and you guys don't need to hear me talk even more about Blue Flag. I've talked about the series in probably every one of my videos in the past. Coming of age, romance, love triangle series. And this one is just a very dramatic school life and self-discovery manga that I really enjoyed this past year, and that's why this one was part of my must reads for 2022. I really recommend it. Alright, next up we have Downfall, and I also recently read this, and this one's by Inio Asano, and he's known to make really depressing series, and this one is no exception. So Downfall is a one singular volume depicting the journey of this mangaka and his life. So he seems to have a perfect life in the beginning where he's had many hit stories, and he used to be a very popular mangaka, but now his work is slowly dying and he doesn't really see a point in life anymore, and he doesn't enjoy making manga. It's just a very depressing story overall. Alright, next up we have Golden Kamui. I got this first volume a long time ago and read it, but I haven't caught up with it ever since, so that's why I only have this one particular series. But yeah, this one is a very great shonen series where basically after the war, a lot of different groups are trying to find prosperity, and one of the forms of prosperity is gold, and so there's a lot of gold around this area, and so the gold rush happens. Basically, a lot of different groups try and get rich. All right, next up we have Monster, and as you can see, I'm still making my way towards volume 2. I don't know why it's taking me such a long time to get through Monster. I think it's just because I've always distracted while reading it, so I really need to sit down one day and just finished volume 2. All right, next up I have volume 1 of The Way of the House Husband, and this one is in English, so I won't talk about this one. All right, and the next series that I have here, that's actually separated between this shelf and that shelf. I still need to do some reorganizing for this. This is the first 2 volumes of Tokyo Ghoul, and I have read the entirety of Tokyo Ghoul, the manga, but I have yet to read Tokyo Ghoul Re, another classic, I would say very much inspired off of Parasite. Next up we have Neon Genesis Evangelion, and this is an amazing series. I've actually already finished volume 1, but I recently started volume 2, or the omnibus volume 2, and I've also started watching the anime of this series after seeing so many people rave about it. I really can't wait. So this is a mecha series, you know, Transformers and things like that. To be honest, it reminds me a bit of Code Geass, you know, with their suits and everything, and so yeah, but I have had a lot of fun reading this series so far. All right, the next several things on this shelf are not very manga related, but this one's Garrison Girl, and this is an Attack on Titan novel by Rachel Aaron, and this was kindly gifted to me by Quirk Books. And then I have The Six of Crows, and I have my BTS Love Yourself album right over here. We are finally completed with the tour and collection of this first shelf right here. And I kind of sped up near the ends over here because I knew I was taking too long of a time to describe everything. But if you guys want to know more about any series, just let me know down in the comments and I'll try my best to reply. So let's go ahead and get started with this shelf right here. First series that I have here is this Angelique series, and to be honest, I'm not sure why I have this. This was one of the first Japanese series that I've ever collected, and I believe the front cover just caught my eye, and also it went for a really good price on eBay. I believe $3 or $4 for these 2 volumes here. So this series is based off of a game, I believe, or a visual novel. I'm not sure if I will keep this if I really had to choose some series to get rid of. All right, the next one we have is Fruits Basket Another, and I got this off of Half Price Books. For some reason, I just really wanted it. I don't have any other Fruits Basket Another volumes. This is kind of random, but I'll probably thank myself in the future when I do collect the rest of this. This next one is called Blood Alone, revolving around this vampire girl and of course this vampire exorcist, but then he discovers this child vampire and decides to take her in and take care of her. All right, this next series is called Surgeon Elise, and my goodness, is this a gorgeous volume. All the pages are colored. It's absolutely insane. So this takes place in a very fantasy kingdom world. So I have not read this, but I've heard a lot of great things about it. This next series is Solanin, and this series is by Inyo Asano. This is Solanin. I have the completed set of 2 volumes. This is another very depressing series, but I've read the English version a while back, but I'm still working on the Japanese one. And I have another Inyo Asano series called What a Wonderful World, Subarashi Sekai, and so another very intriguing series. I think my mom tried reading this under the time and thought it was really interesting. I feel bad for not having finished reading most of these series, but that's something I'm working towards in this upcoming year. Alright, this next series, I am very content to say that I have read it in Japanese in its entirety, and this is Ao Haru Ride. This is completed with 13 volumes, and they came in these really nice plastic wraps that I could luckily put back in after I was done reading. So Ao Haru Ride, literally a legend of a shoujo manga, one of the most iconic ones, I would say, by Iosaki Saka, one of the most amazing shoujo mangakas. So Ao Haru Ride is a very interesting and very twisty shoujo manga. It has a lot of traditional tropes that you see, but overall I did really like this series. Definitely recommend checking out, and there's a lot of adaptations like live version and movies, I believe. But yeah, that's that. All right, next up we have this series called Ashi Girl, about this girl who goes back in time She's a normal schoolgirl, but she ends up going back in time and meeting a lot of interesting people, historical figures, and this is just so cute of a series. This next series is a workplace josei, I believe. And so this one's called Hakoeri no Musume. To be honest, I couldn't tell you too much about this series because I haven't read it yet, but the art looks really amazing and a lot of interesting characters. Excited to read this when I get the chance. All right, the next series I have here is Marmalade Boy Little. So you guys know how much I love Marmalade Boy, so I had to check out Marmalade Boy Little. And so Marmalade Boy Little is basically an additional story on top of Marmalade Boy talking about their children, actually Mickey and Yu's children. So I just thought that was so adorable. So that is Marmalade Boy Little. And then this next one is Love Me or Love Me Not in English by Yosaki Saka, the same mangaka as Our Horror Ride right over here. So I have yet to watch the film. I remember watching all the trailers when it came out and just so anticipating the film. I have really high expectations because it is an Yosaki Saka series, but then again, I'm not too sure because I don't hear that many people talking about this series anymore. So this one revolves around 4 main characters as opposed to 2 in Our Horror Ride, and talks a lot about friendship and people liking one another and a huge love rectangle. Alright, so that's the back row of this shelf, and let's get on with the front row right here. So this series, Ore Monogatari, which is also My Love Story, here it is in Japanese, and I have the full thing, volumes 1 through 13, and I believe I got this from the same seller as Our Horror Ride. The 2 main characters are this very lovely guy and this girl right there, and it's their very cute love story. Alright, the next one we have here is Sumika Sumire, which is also another, I believe, josei series. So we start off with this woman who has many regrets. She didn't choose things that would make her happy. She made a lot of sacrifices in her life. So she gets to travel back in time and relive her experiences as a 20-year-old. So you can see she's beauty when she was young. And so this is a time-traveling manga. And it's very exciting to see, you know, how your life could have been different, but I guess it's also pretty depressing if you really think about, you know. And what caught my eye with this series was actually its art, not its premise at first. Next up we have Kodomo no Omocha, which is Kodocha for short, and this is the Japanese version, volume 1. Again, one of my favorite series of all time. This next series is called Romantica Clock, and this is a very cute shoujo series about these 2 characters here. I believe they're siblings, and it just goes about their lives and everything. I remember really liking this series. I definitely finished reading this one multiple times because this was one of my first Japanese volumes ever. I actually bought this series in Japan when I was younger. This next chunky series is called City Hunter, and what an iconic series. I don't know why it's not published in English. I really feel like it should be. I have loved the Korean drama adaptation with Lee Min-ho. This is volumes 1 through 19, I believe, and these are all in very stellar condition, even though they've been, you know, in storage for so long. Even down here, I have more City Hunter volumes. So if I remove this back row, all City Hunter back there. But yeah, we're done with this first row now, and let's move on to this one right here. And then after that, we have Tokyo Ghoul. The first 2 volumes were on the left side here, so I won't go too much into detail on this either. So next to Tokyo Ghoul, we have Chobits, and these are the wonderful, stunning 20th anniversary editions. I was so excited to get my hands on these, and I'm so glad I did. This series is just so beautiful, and these designs are like textured, so you can feel all of them. And in the front and in the back, there's are a lot of really nice colored pages, which I'm in love with. So there's volume 1, volume 2 right here. I will be keeping these forever. These are such a collector's item. This next series is Vinland Saga, and this is also another hardcover edition by Kodansha. And Vinland Saga is a Viking series. So I read the first 2 volumes and I'm still working on the 3rd one. And this series has an amazing anime to go with it. I have not watched the anime yet. The art is so detailed. And it talks about this young boy that has endured a lot because the Viking world is very brutal. His parents died, he's gone from his family, and he has to learn how to fend for himself. The world building in this is just insane. Just a really great adventure series. Volume 2 here, and volume 3. Yeah, really like this series, and we'll be looking forward to reading this one. All right, the next series I have here is Rose of Versailles. This is one of my mom's all-time favorite series. It just looks so beautiful and royal and wonderful. And I'm trying to get my hands on volumes 2 and 3. And this one, each page is actually print quality. Each page is so thick. So this series is quite old, but it's still a very good gem. All right, back to the front of this shelf. Right here we have Wolf Girl and Black Prince. This is a very interesting shoujo series. But yeah, I got this off of another Japanese manga bundle. A lot of mixed reviews, so I've seen in the past couple years, but basically this guy is another very cold and heartless guy. In the beginning, he treats her kind of like his dog, ordering her to do things for him and just things like that. I finished reading this a long time ago, and I really wish they would publish this in English so I can just read it for fun sometimes. Next up we have Aonatsu, which is another Japanese series, and this one is a very refreshing summer series. Again, shoujo. I just really like the art of this series. The story does take place in summer, so it just gives me a really nice nostalgic feel. Alright, this next series is Chihayafuru, which is a series that revolves around karuta, which is a very traditional Japanese game, and it's very interesting and hard to understand in the beginning, but after you watch the series, the anime itself is so mesmerizing, and I found myself watching real life clips of people playing this game. Main female character is such a girl boss because she's a legend at this game, and she meets a lot of interesting characters through this game as well. Alright, this next series is Kyo no Kira-kun, another shoujo series of this very quiet girl who has a pet bird, and she's very, very shy, and so they both have their own struggles and unconventional friendship. It's actually a pretty sad series. I'm not going to say anything further on that, but I have 9 volumes of this, and I just really like the art of this. It's so cute. Alright, so after this series we have P to JK, and this is an age gap series between a high schooler and a police officer. Also another very interesting series that I haven't read in a long time. I read the series online, I believe like 5-6 years ago, and ever since getting this Japanese version I haven't read it yet, but overall I remember it being extremely cute. Yeah, so that's P to JK, and then after this we have the Mandarin version of A Silent Voice. A Silent Voice, what more can I say? If you guys haven't watched the film yet, watch it now. So this series revolves around this one girl who is deaf and this kid who very much bullies her in the beginning of the series, but then we move on to when they are both in high school and he really wants to reconcile, not really ask for her forgiveness, but just to be on good terms with her again. This series is a masterpiece, so highly recommend checking it out. And so yeah, I really like the story that these covers show, because you can see the progression of their relationship in each of these covers alone. All right, we are now on to our last shelf right here, and there is my alpaca, so I will remove her from the premises for a bit. We have the first 3 volumes of Chainsaw Man, and this is in Mandarin. And so I'm so excited to watch the anime, which I haven't yet, but yeah, I've heard amazing things about this series. And then next up I have JoJo, Part 1, Volume 1. This was my very first introduction to JoJo's. I don't know, watching the anime was a bit more fun for me in terms of the series, but I will give it another try. Next up we have the Junji Ito collection, which is not that much. Yo, Love Sickness, and Uzumaki. So I've only read Uzumaki and Love Sickness. I have yet to read Gyo, but I've heard very good things about Gyo. But Uzumaki, basically the story of spirals. Everything becomes a spiral and the entire city gets engulfed in that. And then Love Sickness is about this like one spell where you can tell people what you desire and things like that. And people start disappearing and weird things start happening. In Gyo, I have not read this one yet, but I am very excited to. I personally do love Junji Ito's stories and his art. Anyways, just a trigger warning, I'm going to show the back panel of Gyo and you can kind of see what Junji Ito's up to, and if you guys are interested in checking that out. So this is absolutely terrifying and I don't think I'll be sleeping. But yeah, That's Junji Ito for you. Next up, we have The Drifting Classroom by Kazuo Umez, and I already talked a bit about The Drifting Classroom, the single version that I had, but this version by Viz is absolutely stunning. This front cover is like really matte, but also textured. I believe I collected this series 2 years ago when I first started collecting, and yeah, as you can see, the art is really, really amazing. And there's a lot of dialogue and a lot of things just happening in this series. The classroom just drifts off into the abyss and they're not really sure what's happening. But anyways, that's The Drifting Classroom. All right, next up we have Cardcaptor Sakura. This is the collector's edition. All of these come with this card. So this is the one for that card. And again, the panels are really, really great. And I just love these large sized manga. Even though they're not the most convenient to carry around, I think it's still amazing to, you know, read this manga in its utmost form. Again, Cardcaptor Sakura is as iconic for me as Sailor Moon. Just one of those like really, really nostalgic series. All right, so that's volume 1. And let's take a look at volume 2 real quick. Again, really stunning. And here's the card that we have for this one. Next up, this very chunky part is Berserk, and my goodness, Berserk is an absolute masterpiece. Still the #1 rated manga of all time on Mal, with good cause too. There's just so many intricate details of this series and the art is absolutely amazing. So I have read up to the 5th deluxe edition, so I'm still continuing. My goodness, our main character here, Guts, has gone through literal hell and he's still going through it. So this is a dark thriller action series, very dark fantasy. So yeah, if you guys are interested in things like Vinland Saga, you will really, really like this series. But of course, there's no way you haven't heard of Berserk, right? But again, this is not for the lighthearted. The series does have some explicit content in terms of gore, I would say, and it has very dark themes, like extremely dark themes. That's just wonderful. But yeah, that is Berserk, and I can't recommend this series enough. I was obsessed with this, I believe, last year, and I read each deluxe edition the day that I got it. And then I have volume 43 of Haikyuu. I tried not to flip through it because I don't want to spoil myself with what happens, because I still have not caught up with the manga. And the next thing I have here are these 2 volumes of this adorable series. I've read both of these, and this is called Girl That I Like Forgot to Wear Her Glasses. But it's such a cute series. I think it really reminds me of Komi Can't Communicate and certain series like those, like really cute school life ones. So yeah, highly recommend checking this series out, especially if it ever gets published in English. The last series that I have to share with you guys is Toilet Bound Hanako-kun, and so I have this series in Mandarin. A lot of people are telling me to collect it, and I always forget to mention that I do have this series, but just in Mandarin. So my camera battery is about to die, and it's about like ghosts and exorcists, but in a cute manner. And yeah, the characters are all really endearing, and the aesthetic of this series is just through the roof. All right, last piece of this shelf. I think I will actually be getting one more thing of this and then installing it right here so I can have 2 more rows, because I think that will really help out with some space for now. But as for now, I just have a bunch of random things on here, and then here I have all of your letters and mail, and I'm just so grateful for each and every person that sends me stuff. So yeah, we are finally at the end of this long video, and hope you guys enjoyed. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate all of your guys' continued support for the past 2 years. I'm almost hitting 2 years on YouTube now, so that's so exciting. Anyways, yeah, that's all I have for now. It's actually the day before I move back to school, so I will be sad leaving my collection, but I'll take some volumes with me along the way. Yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!